Yeah.
You let me know.
Yeah. You are live. You are live.
Yep.
Yeah, you're live.
Perfect. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this event and share with you all about QUAZAR, which is our latest overt feature. So we are in 2020, and it's been a tough year. I think this is the best that I can say. And when we look at the consumer's behavior, there are some clear patterns and trends. The arrival of the connectivity has changed enormously the way that people interact with the product. Brand owners know it, and they try to make the most of it. But not only this, the e-commerce is offering an alternative shopping experience. Of course, that there are different speeds between countries, rural areas versus the capitals, depending on where you live, the young people versus the elder. But with the time, you can see that the offering is increasing, the adoption or the penetration is increasing, and most likely this is going to be irreversible. Also, the convenience is another very important aspect. Not only the size, whether it's an individual pack or familiar, but also how easy it is to hold it or to carry it out, and the need of a large variety of choice. All this is translated into a significant increase in number of SKUs in the market. In the same line, we all would love finding products that perfectly match our own needs. Customization, in this sense, approaches to this ideal case, and personalization gets even closer. This is really my product, and here also we add an additional value because we talk about the exclusivity. No one else has the same product as me. On top of that, words like pollution, plastic waste, CO2 emissions are resonating stronger in our heads than several decades ago. So today we are much more concerned not only to avoid destroying the planet that we live on, but also trying to preserve it for our kids and for the next generations. Thus, there is a strong demand for sustainability, and products, of course, they are not an exception. Thus, combined with healthier habits in our daily routines, like buying more value products, eating less sugar or fats, making more sports, make us wishing to learn more about the products that we are consuming. Where are they coming from? What are they made of? So in other words, we are looking for end-to-end transparency on the product. One sentence that I think that summarizes very well how is today consumers' behavior is that we want anything, anytime, anywhere. So with that perspective, many companies are seeing an advantage in transforming their supply chain from more traditional, basically cost-centric, to customer-centric. Of course, that with a significant impact on their internal processes to be adjusted. But at the same time, supply chains today are more complex, are more global. The online boom has been a major breakthrough, and the advances of the technology has allowed to tackle all these challenges with better weapons. However, this scenario is also a golden opportunity for counterfeiters to slip fake products along the value chain. There is a proverb that says that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. It is easy for them because bigger is or more complex is the supply chain. They have more opportunities to introduce fakes. They are also able to do better fakes in quality because the technology progress, it's not only good for us, but it's also good for them. They increase the quality, so it's not that evident to distinguish when it's a fake or this is original product. And they have better access to the technologies that we have been using in the past. So sometimes it's not necessary to do a good fake. You just need to fool you. And larger scope, because if 20 years ago, counterfeit products was mostly on luxury goods, today the reality is completely different. And we must admit that all products are susceptible to be counterfeited, like construction materials, for instance, among others. The numbers projected here are significant. 3 to 7% of the total world trade is counterfeited. Or if we look it from another angle, $1.5 trillion is what represents the annual global value of counterfeit goods. The trend is clear. The number of practices, of bad practices, or so-called intellectual property right infringements will continue to increase. The predictions show a double-digit growth. The aim is not to scare you with that figures, it's just to raise awareness of today's situation if it's not the case yet. So with this context, the key question from a consumer point of view, is this product that I have in my hands authentic? It's clear that no brand owner wants that his customer, her customer, is holding a fake product instead. Not only because it's a direct loss of cash and revenues, but also because all the liability issues that might incur in case that something wrong happens to him or her. Your name associated to scandals, even if it's not your fault, of course. But so a lot of unpleasant job to fix it. And on top of that, the erosion of the brand, which is not negligible, that leads to ultimately the loss of the trust. And as you know, the trust is something that takes years to be built, however, just seconds to be destroyed. That's why that we try to classify the main products at risk into 3 different categories: life critical, value driven, and highly strategic. In the life critical category, we place medicines, but also other products like, for instance, electric chargers. We know that fake ones can be the origin of domestic fires. Or, for instance, toys containing toxic compounds that then after the kids swallow. In the value-driven category, we basically consider the high-end products. And in the highly strategic category, we consider, for instance, those products that, are, for instance, are the most representative of a brand, or those that, for instance, are the most sold. So for that, I want to protect them. Or alternatively, the products that are going to be sent to specific hot geographies. So back to the original question of how I can authenticate the product that I have in my hands. Is there different ways to authenticate a product? Yes, of course. In some, you will just need your naked eyes. In some others, you might need a specific device. Sometimes we will propose you a smartphone. In some others, you may even go to a forensic laboratory. When we use our classical vocabulary, we talk about overt, semi-covert, covert, forensic features. Are some better than others? And for me, the answer is clear. It will really depend on what the brand owner needs. So today in this presentation, I'm going to focus on the authentication process in which the time is important. Then, who is this person that is doing the job on authentication of product? It's only the end users to do it? No, not at all. Just a few examples, for instance, because customs, for me, it's a very interesting case. In discussions that with different officials, they all share the same type of experience. Plenty of containers every day, thousands of products. Some, they are suspicious, some others not. But you can imagine that there is a huge number of products to investigate. And you can't keep the goods an unlimited period of time. This depends on each legislation of the countries. So you can imagine this situation. These guys cannot have a specific device for each different brand. Neither they can have an application that is giving them different instructions. At most, what they say is that they will take 1 or 2 pictures and then send to the brands asking for confirmation. But this is not sustainable. So that's why also from the other side, the brand owners, they try to keep a good and close relationship with the customs in order to facilitate the process, because what they want is very easy. If in case if it's fake, to stop the goods and don't go to the shops. However, if they are authentic, they don't want these goods are blocking the customs, so they release them immediately. Another example, for instance, of the retailers, and in a recent case that we have been successfully assisted, there was a very complex supply chain. And the retailers, for instance, in that case, could get the goods from different multiple sources. So the difference in prices at the beginning was thought to be explained because different distributors, there were different applying different margins, but the reality was not at all. It's that there was plenty of fakes invading the supply chain, and nobody could distinguish between real and the fakes without disassembling the product. So again, you can imagine they cannot do for all the products they have in their shops, and they need something, again, very simple and on the spot. For consumers, time is also very important. So when you buy something online, you don't want to have a single doubt on the authenticity of you just have it at home, especially if these products belong to the category of life critical. When buying offline products, it's clear that the trust normally is delegated to the shops that you are used to go. You believe in them. However, in situations completely out of your comfort zone, like needing medicines from in another country, in a very remote area, I'm pretty sure that this perspective will certainly change. Basically, in all these cases, the authentication process must be in situ, fast, simple, and the outcome unambiguous. And in these cases is where an overt feature is providing all its value. You only need your eyes to validate the authenticity of the product. They are playing a double role. On the one hand, they provide immediate reassurance to the users, and on the other, they act as a barrier against counterfeiters. Let's start maybe with this one. There is no doubt that counterfeiters are really great businessmen. They care about return on the investment, and therefore for them time is money. In this sense, the best scenario for them is easy. No overt features on it, so it's more easy for them in terms of effort to slip fakes into the supply chain. The second ideal scenario is when there is an overt feature, but it is based on a technology they already know how to do it, how to fake it, how to fool you. I still remember in discussions with Europol a couple of years ago in an event on the case of a seizure of fake vodka. The fake bottles were bearing an overt feature on it, while the original was not even bearing nothing. This example is not only a bad publicity for such type of technology, but it's also on the perception of overt features in general. And this is something that we want all to prevent that. So that's when it's very important to have something really strong technology behind, because the message must be clear to them. Don't even try, because the effort is not going to be worth. Back to the reassurance. When you put an overt feature, you are sending a message to your customer. Basically, in other words, is, hey, I'm really sorry, but there are fakes out there. It's not your fault. It's not my fault neither. Probably you can tell yourself that it's because your product is of quality and it has drawn the attention of the counterfeiters. But back to my point, the message is, I care about you. And with this overt feature, I try to protect you and keep my promise on the value of this product. Let's not forget one important thing that I was mentioning before. When the quality cannot be a differentiator, so you cannot distinguish whether it's a fake or an original, because it's not evident, the overt feature becomes your trust anchor. And how this reassurance is created, it has to be with a simple but effective message. It must be intuitive and easy to understand and to remember. And indeed, this is an additional benefit to the list that I mentioned before. it is inclusive for people, no matter the age, the connectivity that they can have in the area where they live, or the affordability. So in a nutshell, a good overt feature must be easy to authenticate, but at the same time, it must be difficult to fake. Can we combine both? So you can believe that yes, the answer is that with QUAZAR, we can combine both worlds. What is QUAZAR? QUAZAR is our latest overt security feature applied on labels for product and brand protection. There are basically main 4 characteristics that help to describe it. The first is that it is very appealing with eye-catching effects. The second, it is very robust against counterfeiting because proprietary technology, and we fully control its internal supply chain. Third, customizable and very flexible to changes. And fourth, it's because it's compatible with complementary security features, leading to multi-layered solutions that you can pile. Let's get a little bit further in each of these points. A couple of minutes ago, I was talking about the importance to reassure your customer. Thus, the overt feature has become your trust anchor, I would say. At Sicpa, we have always been very interested in learning more and better about this cognitive process that happens in the brain of the user. Trying to explain it in a few words. In order to increase this feeling of trust, the person that is doing the authentication needs to go through an internal double process. Recognize and remember. So QUAZAR is a simple one-off effect. You have an image A and in the front view, and when you tilt it, you have another image B. This combined with smart designs, which are based on perception studies that we have been carrying out, are the 2 key elements for an effective cognitive process. This induced simplicity is basically what we call smart simplicity. But as many times, what it looks from the external perception simple to our eyes, does not necessarily mean that this is also simple internally. QUAZAR is very robust against counterfeiters. And why do we think so? It's not only because it's a sophisticated proprietary technology, but also in the way that we have defined our supply chain for these security labels. Exclusive sourcing of materials, production of our own inks with a specific know-how, with a specific know-how also on the design, with a specific equipment that we have to install at the press, and with a very limited number of printers, partners, trust, again, to have access to print these QUAZAR labels, CB in the US and Reinders in Europe. One of the attractiveness of this technology, if we focus more on a practical point of view, it is its high degree of customization that helps to capture the attention and reinforce authentication effectiveness. We can play in 3 different dimensions: designs, colors, and type of effect. On top of that, if it's really flexible in relation to changes and variations, and it is a printed technology, you just need to change your flexo plates, and here you go. So you can imagine, for instance, when you are applying a security label with QUAZAR, that on QUAZAR, for instance, you could just make a standard design, but then introduce small designs for limited editions. Maybe now it's coming Christmas times, or maybe to differentiate different SKUs, or maybe for differentiate countries that you are going to send your product. So this is really easy to integrate from a standard practical point of view. And last but not least, QUAZAR has the capacity to be combined with other security features level. Here in this slide, you can see one of our marketing labels that contains different ways that authentication can be done. As mentioned before, all of them are addressing different needs. So it becomes particularly interesting in the case that we can combine different security labels in a single feature. So thanks to the work carried out by our technical teams, today we can combine QUAZAR with Sicpa Guard, the machine-readable covert feature, and with Sicpa Secure, the forensic feature. So you can guess from operational point of view how efficient is this move. Because in case that you need an upgrade in your solution, the only change in your process is invisible. It's from our side, it's on the ink formulation. So overall, what makes QUAZAR unique as overt feature in the market? A good start is, of course, being proprietary of the technology. But for me, it's even more important, this uniqueness of the technology. No one else can propose you something close. And additionally, this is not a popular technology, so it acts at the end as a very high protective barrier. This is strict supply chain process that allows us to be in total control of the supply of the QUAZAR labels. And in this sense, the sales channels are clearly defined. We sell directly to brand owners, so there are no dispersion, no indirect sales. The practical compatibility with other security feature levels that I mentioned before, and most importantly, is that QUAZAR labels are already market proven across different market segments. One key point that I would like to highlight, and is a recurrent feedback from customers, is the extension of the life cycle of their solution in the market. Because changing the anti-counterfeiting solution every 3 to 6, in some other cases to 9 months, because it has been compromised, it's just a burden of money and efforts, which is not worth at all. On the other side, and more from practical point of view, I already mentioned the importance to build a solid trust anchor, as well as all the customization part. However, one key element as well that I want to raise your attention is the capacity to provide rapid prototyping. It's definitely a real advantage. You doubt in the marketing department, you might doubt between 2 different 3D designs that you have only seen from an electronic file. But at the same time, you don't want to spend a lot of money and a lot of time to realize only when the job has been done that maybe that design that you chose is not the best fit. So that's why it's very important, the rapid prototyping. Finally, and in the same line, the implementation speed is very high. There is no bottleneck here. Normally, we sit together, we validate the design, and once this is done, it's the same job as printing a conventional label. And this simplicity is indeed reflected in the absence of one-off cost associated to QUAZAR labels. So before finishing, let me talk about who is behind QUAZAR, which is Sicpa. And for those that you don't know about Sicpa, is a Swiss company founded in 1927 with headquarters in Briey, close to Lausanne, and which operates on 5 different continents. Sicpa is the leading global provider of secure authentication, identification and traceability solutions and services, and a long trusted advisor to governments, central banks, high security printers and industry. Our mission is to enable trust through constant innovation, and based on our core expertise in high security inks, we protect the majority of the World Bank's notes, security and value documents from the threat of counterfeiting fraud. It also integrates material covert features and cutting-edge digital technology to offer sophisticated traceability and supply chain protection solutions and services, enabling governments to optimize tax revenues and enforce regulations. With all that said, just want to thank you again for all your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Xavier, for such a wonderful presentation. I hope the presentation that you have given to us add value in our attendees who are watching this, and they will definitely collaborate. The services that you have told to us is phenomenal, and thank you so much. And still, people wants to ask questions to you. So if you can go on main chat. So people, you can answer the ask question from Xavier. Xavier here to answer your all questions. I hope it's good. Okay, perfect. So now we will be moving to our next presentation. Okay, thank you so much, Xavier. Now we are going to next presentation, and it will start soon. Thank you.